All right, let's try this one more time, shall we? Appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us for another live call, no matter how weird they seem like they are getting. I don't know why today of all days it decided for me to have technical difficulties, but hey, we're going to work through them. We're going to figure it out. We appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. On today's show, we're going to be breaking down the Chicago Bears Week 2 takeaways, what we feel like are going to be the big takeaways from Week 2, how that's going to help us moving forward. Also want to talk about the national nerds basically not even trying when it comes to putting together a narrative. And then finally want to get into this Chicago Bears coaching staff and what they have in front of them, the job they have to do and the job that they have already done early on. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and rocking with us, and it all starts right now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talk. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. Appreciate you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Daily Breeze. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning. Don't know what the heck all of that was, right? Like, I don't know. The YouTube be doing its own thing sometimes. Now I'm using OBS. OBS be doing its own thing sometimes. Hey, but you got to work through these issues, man, when you're a one-man show out here trying to make people happy. Appreciate you guys for showing love as always, man. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago Bears daily on this channel, like I said. Bears got a dub yesterday over the Seattle Seahawks. Big win. And it was pretty dominant throughout. I mean, you watched yesterday's game. You felt like the Bears were in control for pretty much the entire game there. You never looked at that game and felt like it was really going to get away from the Bears. And so you felt good about where this team was kind of at and where this team was moving at, and the pace that this team was moving at, I should say. Some of the big takeaways for me that I really keyed in on in that first game, and let me know if you guys agree. Let me know how you guys feel about some of the takeaways in the situations that the Bears were put in and stuff like that. But it really felt like this Bears team was finally able to get a little bit of a rhythm systematically. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to get a rhythm without having your guys in there, right? Like Justin Fields didn't play that many downs. The offensive line as a whole, you saw Tevin Jenkins in him play a little bit more because they were trying to get him some work in there at that right guard position, but you didn't see a lot of guys playing a ton of downs out there, right? I mean, I don't know if they're even going to. I mean, you would think that third preseason game wouldn't be the time that you're going to run all these guys out there, but maybe it is. Maybe that's where you want to see where you're going to see the Bears have their biggest time to work in this system here. Would have thought you'd want to see a little bit more out of it early, but at the end of the day, right, this is what it comes down to me when you're talking about this Bears team. And my biggest takeaway, how are they improving systematically? How is this team moving in the right direction systematically, right? And hit that like button if you agree. I want to see where this Bears team continues to grow from. I want to see where this Bears team continues to improve from. And we saw in that running game, again, it looks like this team's going to be able to run the football. It looks like this team's going to make an effort to run the football, but we did see them dropping back to pass a little bit more in this game. I was a little bit surprised by that. I mean, I guess you do have to give Justin Fields a little bit of time just to say, okay, listen, we understand where you're at. We understand where you're trying to get to, but we need to see you pass the ball. We need to see how you're moving the ball down the field. We need to see how you're attacking defenses. And I think Justin Fields did a pretty good job of it, right? And here's where it starts to get into a little bit of the fun part of the show, right? Because I got to go with the national nerds not doing their jobs, not looking at what actually was happening on the field yesterday and whether it was impressive or not. You see that opening drive, and it was almost as if Dan Orlovsky and Louis Riddick and those guys had no idea how to even talk about the Chicago Bears, how to even bring up the Chicago Bears, how to even look and say, oh, it literally got to a point where like they were just talking about the team in such a bad, it was like, is this team actually playing this well right now? Is this team actually doing this good of a job right now? Is this team actually playing really good football right now? They couldn't even find a way to acknowledge it, right? And you saw Justin Fields kind of get a couple of times where the pressure was in his face, and all of a sudden it was, this guy's going to die. This guy's not going to make it. This guy's not going to be able to get through. But I don't think that that's the case. I watched that game yesterday, and one of my big takeaways was the fact that the offense on this team was able to move the football through the struggles. Again, systematic improvement. The offense on this team was able to move the football through the offensive struggles, was able to move the football through the offensive line, having a couple of mishaps. I'm not going to say it was a perfect day yesterday for the offensive line, but the fact that they were able to come out there and continue to get first downs after first down after first down, even going into your second team, even going into your third team, right? That's something that you have to look at, and you have to say that it's an improvement for the Chicago Bears as a whole. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments as well. If you guys haven't done so, hit that like button for me, subscribe to the page. I know the stream was a little bit laggy starting off. Normally we do a much better job of running the show here, but I don't know. It was weird. I don't even have an answer for it, dog. It was weird. Here's my thing when I'm watching yesterday's game, and what I really wanted to key in on coming in here. You've got to talk about this coaching staff and how they've been able to put the offense and the defense in positions to be successful. I watched yesterday, and it was one of those things, right, where I kept watching a system that I was like, I've seen Aaron Rodgers execute this, and we're executing it right now. I've seen Aaron Rodgers execute this same play that Justin Fields just executed, and we're executing it very well right now. I've seen this offense dominate us over the years, and we're executing it very well right now, right? So those are things to me that I think you really have to look at and feel good about if you're a Bears fan moving forward, and the fact that Justin Fields was the one that was able to execute it. Now, are there going to be some growing pains on this team? Yeah, but this is the thing that I continued to say yesterday. There's definitely some growing pains when it comes to this offense, but here's the thing, and especially, right, everybody kept saying you're not going to be able to just go up against Seattle's defense every day. You're not going to be able to play against the team like Seattle's defense every day. You're not going to be able to play against the team that has this level of porous and struggle and dismay going up against. I disagree. This is why I'm excited about what we're going to see growth-wise from the Chicago Bears this season. Most of the teams we play on this schedule are more like what we saw last night than like what we went against in week 1. Most of the teams that we're going to face this season are more like what we saw last night than what we're going to face as a team in week 1, or than what we faced as a team in week 1. You're going up against the Falcons. You're going up against the Jets. You're going up against the Giants. You're going up against a lot of teams that are going to come out with similar teams like what you saw last night. Teams that are in flux, teams that are in a little bit of a transition period, teams that are similar to you. And that's why when I look at this thing, I don't look at this as a gloom and doom season. That's why when I hear these national reporters, national writers, whatever it is, get on the air and they're sitting there talking about, oh, Justin Fields is going to die. Justin Fields isn't going to make it 17 games. The Bears offensive line is such a joke. They're not going to be able to play. What are y'all watching? Are y'all just following the narrative that's been put in place, or are you actually watching the football that's being played on the field? Justin Fields can't roll out that many times. Oh, but you didn't have a problem when Aaron Rodgers does it. Right? Like we've got to keep the argument consistent here. And I understand a lot of these national nerds are doing that just to get a rise out of us. I understand a lot of these national nerds are doing that just so that they can hear, just so guys like me can get on a show like this and just start talking, right? But it's one of those things where you look at it and you say, okay, well, what does this team need to do to win games? Exactly how they played last night. And here's the thing that we also have to take into account, right? 3 of the offensive linemen that are on that line are not our starting offensive linemen. Maybe Tevin Jenkins does win that job at right guard. Maybe Tevin Jenkins does win that job at right guard, right? I don't know if he does. We'll see. That was essentially his first week playing right guard. It wasn't a terrible showing. I don't know if he exactly won the job, but it wasn't a terrible showing. But if you watch that game last night, and you think about the fact that 3 of the pieces at a minimum on that offensive line are second string pieces, because you're expecting to have an offensive line with Lucas Patrick, Michael Schofield, and Riley Reiff, then I look at it and I say, I feel better about where this football team is heading this season, because I plan on seeing a lot more teams like the team that we saw last night than the dominant teams that we faced in week 1 of preseason. Bulls Nation in the chat, Don Burr in the chat. What's going on, Don Burr? I don't know if you got any room to talk with how your team's looking, my boy. Tiff in the chat, Vern in the chat, what's good? Let me get a bear down in the chat from everybody. I forgot to do that, man, because I was a little flustered by coming into here and everything being a little out of whack. Let me get a couple of bear downs in the chat. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. When I look at the Chicago Bears offensive line, I understand that that's not even the starting offensive line that we're supposed to have. 2 pieces on that offensive line are our starters. 2 pieces. Braxton Jones, Cody Whitehair. Those are your 2 starters. Outside of that, everybody else is a piece that you're trying to fill in. It's a holdover piece right now. And so when people are talking about, also when you look at that first drive, and I broke that down in the video today. If you guys saw that video, you know what I'm talking about. I broke that down in the video today, talking about that first drive from the Chicago Bears. That first drive from the Bears, the plays that Justin Fields felt pressure on, 2 of them were literally screen passes. The plays that Justin Fields felt pressure on, 2 of them were screen passes. Outside of that, you got a rolling pocket. You got pockets moving around, right? Guess what? Able to deliver a pretty good ball on that. Able to do a pretty good job of moving the chains with those plays. Couple of opportunities I thought for him to use his legs there that we didn't get to see him do. But I'll say this, at a minimum, I don't look at those 8 plays or 9 plays that he was in at the beginning and say, oh, he had no time to make a decision. You see, again, not paying attention to what's actually happening. On the screen pass, he immediately goes to his 2 guys. He immediately goes to the guys that are throwing it. One of them, I believe, was an RPO. The one bad play you can say that you saw was him whiffing on, was Khalil Herbert missing on that tackle. Maybe that play where you see Riley Reiff coming through. I'm sorry, not Riley Reiff, where you see Tevin Jenkins go to the right side and then come back, or go to the left side and then come back right. I've heard from a couple of different angles on that one, right? That it was Larry Borum's fault for not pinching on that. But then of course you got the free blitzer on the other side. On the other side, I've heard that's Tevin Jenkins' fault. He goes left. He should have went right and picked that man up. I can see either or being there, right? We're not sitting in the film room. But this is a system that I think if you see them continue to be on the field for more than one drive, you see end with touchdowns. And I think that for the first time, in a long time, the Chicago Bears are scheming for the talent that they have on the field. And I'll tell you what, that's something that I can feel good about with my team. I'm not saying they're going out there and they're going to win 100 games, or be impressive. I'm not saying that they're going to go out there and they're going to win. I'm thinking baseball right there. That they're going to win 17 games, 15 games, 12 games, right? I'm not getting overly hyped by this season. No matter what happens this year, we are playing a third place schedule. I'm not getting overly hyped by this season. But here's the thing. When I'm looking at what the Bears are putting together systematically, and this is another thing that I want to give credit. I have to give credit to the coaching staff. I have to give credit to the coaching staff. Coach Flus has absolutely put together a staff that I feel confident in making plays. Now, it's still on the player to get the job done. It's still on Justice, still on the offensive line, still on that defense, right? But when I'm looking at Luke Getsy's system, I see that the system works. My biggest question mark with Luke Getsy coming into this season was, is he going to be able to call plays confidently? Is he going to be able to, of course he was a quarterback's coach. He knows the plays. But how's he going to put those plays together? How's he going to put those plays in place? How's he going to order out those first 15? How's he going to set up Justin Fields for success? And you see it, right? You see that, hey, guess what? Justin Fields may not have a top 5 offensive line in front of him, but we're going to do enough for Justin to get time to make a play. We're going to do enough for Justin to, at a minimum, right, get enough time where he can assess if he needs to use his athleticism or not. I really like the fact that Coach Flus has brought in Luke Getsy. I really like how Coach Flus has managed both of these first games. I feel like those are really good. The one thing I'll take away from Flus was that challenge flag. Definitely should have challenged that catch. He said he didn't have an angle on that. He said he did. You don't get an excuse on that, right? He said if it was the regular season, he might have thrown the flag, but the fact that it was preseason, he just, he didn't throw it. I don't like that. I don't like hearing that, right? Because it's like, well, you're supposed to be preparing for the regular season. So if it was the regular season, you would have lost that challenge. If it was the regular season, you wouldn't have had that flag, to make that call on. So I don't like hearing that, but I guess, right, like that's something I can deal with a little bit. Because it's preseason. Hopefully he improves on that. By the way, it's a Friday. What's in your glass? Dilly dilly. But this is the one thing that I will say about what Coach Flus is doing. This is the one thing that I will say about what Luke Getsy is doing. They're using the team they have to its strengths, and that makes the players better. How many times have we talked about Bill Belichick doing something like that? And I'm not comparing the two, but he's the one person that we've always talked about doing that, right? Getting that player that's a scrap heap player and just putting him in a good position. Just putting him in a good position. I don't want to I don't want you to do everything that this other team had you do. I want you to do this one thing that you were really good at on the list. That's what it looks like these guys are doing. That's what it looks like, and that's what gives me hope coming into this season that the Bears aren't – it's not even hope. That's what lets me know that coming into this season, the Bears aren't going to be a 3-win team. Shout out to you guys in the chat as well. Who do we got in the chat today? Don Burr's in here stirring up some stuff. Don Burr's trying to hype up his abysmal Lions team. What's his name? Aiden? Aiden, is that your name, bro? I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I love you, Windy City, and I get that it's preseason, but the Seahawks are the worst team in the league this year. I'm not holding my breath that this O-line will be good. I guess we'll see. Again. That's not our O-line. You're missing 3 starters off of that O-line. You're missing 3 starters off of that O-line. And at the end of the day, the one thing that you can always hang your hat on is Justin's mobility. The fact that Justin can move. There were some bad plays last night from that O-line, right? I feel like there was a couple plays where Tevin lets him through and he just can't get away. But at the end of that, Justin Fields able to use his leg to move the ball. And this O-line has been good at one thing, if you can say anything about it. Run blocking has been really good. They've done a lot with that outside zone run, and it's been really good for the Chicago Bears. The Bears have been able to run the ball really well, and guess what kind of offense we are running? A run-heavy style of offense. I told you guys in the live call last night, right? Like, don't expect Justin Fields to be throwing the ball 40 times. What was the first pass of the game? What was the first pass the Bears threw? Set hut, screen pass, Cole Kmet, boom. Expect 6 to 7 passes similar to that a game. That's a run-heavy style offense. Expect 6 to 7 passes like that a game. That's your run-heavy style of offense. You might see Justin throw 15 or 16 passes outside of that actually are down the field rollout type passes, which is why a system like this can work. I keep telling y'all, there's no way the Bears are going to be worse than last season. Firing Matt Nagy got you 2 wins at a minimum. I've got them at 9 wins. I feel like they'll come in somewhere around 8 or 7, but I got a couple wins that I definitely picked with my heart. But I feel like the national media and some Bears fans are looking at the offense that's being played on the field and saying, well, there's no way that this can be sustained. There's no way that this is going to work. There's no way that Fields is going to be able to throw behind this offense. But that's not what Luke Getsy and Matt Eberflus are expecting to do. And what's the one thing that we've been able to say has been really good in the first 2 preseason games? The one thing that we can say has been really good in the first 2 preseason games, we've talked about Treston Ebner. We talked about Evans a little bit yesterday. We've talked about Khalil Herbert. We've talked about this Bears running game. I'm not saying that that's going to be the entire future of Justin Fields, that they're just going to run the ball and move that's going to be the entire scheme while Luke Getsy and Coach Flus are here. But what I will say is that for the team you have right now, that's perfect. For the team you have right now, that's perfect. So I have to give credit to what Luke Getsy's doing on the offensive side. I feel good about where this offense is going to be because I understand the kind of offense that they're running. Everybody keeps looking at the Packers. Think Tennessee Titans. Except with like 3 guys to make up the one production of Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry's pretty ridiculous. Think Tennessee Titans. Or even think Minnesota Vikings last year. Right? Like, that's where you should be looking. Those are the teams that you should be comparing what this Bears team is going to be able to do this year. And I'll tell you what, on the defensive side, I also have to give some credit to Coach Allen Williams. On the defensive side, I got to give some credit to Coach Williams, man. He has these boys flying to the ball. By the way, 72 in here, 18 likes. Go ahead, hit that like button for your boy. If you in here just staring, what you doing? It's a Friday. We talking Bears and we sipping. We talking Bears and we sipping. Come on now. What y'all sipping in y'all glass? Don Burr, what's in your glass, man? You seem especially spicy today. What's in your glass, Don? You seem especially spicy today. Logan Rideout says everybody loves to hate on the Bears. They won't be winning the Super Bowl. They will be just fine. I agree. I don't expect them to win the Super Bowl. And here's the thing. I don't expect to be excited by year one. I hope the Bears win 8 to 9 games. And I hope the Packers and Vikings win 12 to 13. Because I want the Bears, when they add pieces to this team, to still have a third place schedule next year. I think the thing that really derailed what Matt Nagy was trying to do, and the fact that he just didn't seem like a very good manager of men, is the fact that they went from a third place schedule to a first place schedule real quick. They went from a third place schedule to a first place schedule really, really quick. And they weren't able to adjust to that. They weren't able to play to the level of those first place teams. They didn't have a quarterback play, offensive line play for those first place teams. So I want the Bears to win, but I do want them to kind of stay with a third place schedule heading into next season. I'm not going to lie. Because at this point, right, it's like, what's the point of getting a second place or first place schedule when I know that next season is still going to be more of a growing process. Yeah, I mean. But I do want to give credit to Coach Allen Williams. Here's the thing that I will say. This defense is flying to the ball. This defense is attacking off instinct quickly. The one thing that I do want to see a little bit more, we're not seeing a lot of sacks racked up. I didn't even know Robert Quinn was out there until Robert Quinn got held. I want to see you getting to the quarterback. I want to see this defense getting to the quarterback. They're creating pressure for quarterbacks. They're getting in the backfield, but they're not getting home. Very much like the last couple of seasons, right? Outside of Robert Quinn and them, like there haven't been a lot of guys getting home. There's been a ton of pressure. There's been a ton of guys stepping up in their face, but here's now the step up. Oh, he's out of the way. He still gets the pass off. That means the pass still got off. That means your DBs have to hold out for 6-7 seconds. That's asking a lot. Even from the best DBs. So if I was going to criticize anything, I do want to see this defense get home a little bit more, but I have to give Coach Allen Williams credit. One, you're playing in a chess game when you're talking about these things, right? You're talking about, even at the end of it, I do think the Seahawks just have nowhere near as good talent. But at the end of these things, right, like, you still have to call the perfect play for the defense that matches up better than the play for the offense. Coach Williams is finding his way into the backfield. Coach Williams is finding his way. It's calling plays that are causing quarterbacks havoc, right? I would like a little bit more from our first string on that. I love the blitz that he called for Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon ended up in the backfield chasing down Geno Smith, and Nicholas Morrow end up finishing him off, right? And I think those are the things that you really want to see. And I think that this defensive line can do more this season. I still think it's preseason, right? I still think it's preseason. But I do think the defensive line can do more. You got Robert Quinn with 18 sacks. Al-Qadiq Muhammad looked pretty good yesterday. Kind of got our first real look at him on a couple of serious plays. He looked pretty good yesterday. He had 6 sacks last season. And then you've got Travis Gibson, who of course had what do you have 7 or he had 7 sacks and 5 forced fumbles, something like that. Calvin says in the comments they had 3 sacks last night. They had 4 versus KC. What you talking about, Breeze? They had 3 sacks and 4 versus KC, but none from your first string. Right? Like, yeah, Angelo Blackson got back there. Your second string got back there. Your third string got back there. I want to see your first string getting back there. I want to see the guys that are getting paid the serious money getting back there. I want to see Robert Quinn hitting the quarterback. Now, the one play where Robert Quinn doesn't hit the quarterback, it was a heck of a hold that they didn't call, but hey, you know what I mean? Charles Alvarado in the chat. What's going on, Charles? How you feeling, my guy? Said, I'm holding on to the idea that it's preseason. No need for RQ to go all out. I get you, and I kind of feel the same way on that, but I would like to see Quinn getting back there. You know what I mean? I get you, and I kind of feel the same way, but I feel like I do want to see Robert Quinn getting back there. I did like seeing him in the backfield, and the reason he didn't get a sack was because of a hold, but I'd like to see him get in the backfield. You know what I mean? Like, or I'd like to see him get home on those sacks. But I have to give Coach Allen Williams credit. He's, at a minimum, right, the one thing that you can take away from these guys, no matter where you're at, no matter where they're at on the depth chart, no matter if we're talking about the second string, if you're talking about the third string, the third string, the thing that you always can evaluate is how are these coaches calling plays? How's Luke Getsy calling plays? How's Flus managing the game? How's Allen Williams managing the game? And I think they're doing a pretty good job managing the game. I think they're doing a pretty good job putting their players in a position to make a play. The players just have to make a play. You know what I mean? You got to make a play. And I think that the Bears have the ability to make a play. When you're talking about this first unit, I feel like they have an ability to make a play. Are there things that they're going to improve on? Of course. It's year one of a system. It's year one of a system. There's always going to be things they need to improve on. There's always going to be things that they need to do to get better. There's always going to be things that Justin Fields might not be quick enough at. He's in his second year in the league. But can you do just enough to get wins? And again, I'll go back to this. The teams that we are playing look a lot more like the team that we went against last night. Are you telling me you expect Atlanta to do a ton better than what we saw last night? You telling me you expect the Jets, Miami, the Giants to do a ton better than what we saw last night? I understand the defenses will be different, right? You're not going to be running. This is all vanilla. This is all man-to-man. That's why you can't take a ton from preseason. But what I can take from preseason is how guys are playing, how guys are attacking the field, how guys are running the scheme, and how guys are calling plays. While I understand that it's more of your vanilla stuff, they understand as well that it's more of your vanilla stuff. And so you're calling plays that have to match up. I like how this team is being coached right now. At a minimum, I feel good about how this Bears team is being coached right now. Now, is it just 2 weeks into preseason? Absolutely. Could that mean absolutely nothing by the end of it? Absolutely. That could all mean absolutely nothing by the end of it. But I feel like we're not at a. Here's the thing with this system, and I said this to. I think I was talking to Holt. I said this to him. I felt like last preseason the Bears were running the same stuff they were going to be running in the season. This season, I feel like we're not even touching the tip of the iceberg with where this offense is, and it's all going to be dependent on how good Justin Fields plays and how good a job he does. And I think he has the ability. I think he has the talent. And I'll tell you what, I don't think that this team is going to be anywhere near as bad as the National Nerds do. Shout out to you guys in the chat. Throw some questions at me as well, man. I'll answer a few questions before I get up out of here. You know it's a Friday. But I love talking with you guys, man. This is more of a Freestyle Friday type podcast, man. A little more loose. I'm trying to get a new system up, right? Because with the Daily Show and stuff like that, sometimes schedules don't always align. But I'm still going to be here for content. Charles Alvarado in the chat says, yo, what's good, Pat? Everyone's hating on the Bears. Off-season, preseason, this team is going to get at least 9 wins. I agree with you, Charles. I agree with you. Me and Charles went to school together. Shout out to him, man. He actually played on the football team, and he was the only one that actually looked like he cared. He was the only one that actually looked like he cared. Logan Rideout says 2 penalties in 2 games. The Bears are better coached and more disciplined. I agree. I agree, right? Because when you're talking about how this team, how they put Justin Fields in so many bad situations last season, it was because anytime Justin started to move forward, the offensive line jumps, false start. Anytime Justin would start to move forward, the ineligible man downfield. And guess what? We saw that last night, didn't we? I was so irritated. What was it? Was it Tevin Jenkins or was that Cunningham? Or whatever buddy name is. Cunningham? Somebody that's not going to be playing on the offensive line when it's all said and done. But the Bears have been much more disciplined this season. At least in the preseason, right? Even to the point where I got to give credit to the offensive line on this. That play, Coleman, shout out to you, Coleman, Calvin. That play where I believe it's Larry Borum on the outside doesn't move as they jump and get an encroachment from the Seahawks. That's something we wouldn't have seen last year. That's something where we would have been like, hey, bro, like, come on, dog. Like, you know you can't move in that situation because guess what? They're calling penalties on you. I feel like the Bears have come out in these first couple of games and been absolutely more disciplined, and they haven't shot themselves in the foot, especially on Justin Fields' drives. And 2 games, Justin Fields has gone 4 for 7 and 5 for 7. How do you guys feel about Fields in these first 2 games? Do you feel like they're setting him up for success or they're setting him up for failure? Because that's where the national nerds are kind of sitting on. They feel like the Bears are setting them up for failure. And I don't feel that way. I feel like the Bears are doing a better job putting Justin Fields in a position to be successful, at least early on in the season. Bro, this OBS be tweaking sometimes. I'm trying to see y'all comments, and y'all comments is coming through mad sporadic. It's being weird. Questions. How do you feel about Velus Jones Jr.? I'll tell you what, Velus Jones surprised me last night a little bit. Not on the punt return side, but just kind of like his ability to put his foot in the ground, make one move, and be gone. His ability to put his foot in the ground, make one move, and be flying past guys And here's the thing. I'm the guy that always says, I hate when people say, oh, this guy reminds me just like him. He's just like this. And all I saw last night was, haven't seen somebody move like that here since Devin Hester, which was weird because I was like, we had Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson was like really good. And I'm as crazy as it is to say, I think statistically better. Statistically better. But it felt kind of Devonish, didn't it? It felt like when he put his foot in the ground and made one move, he was gone. I felt good about Velus Jones last night. I felt like he was a piece that the Bears absolutely needed. And I'll tell you what, you really didn't get to see it as much last night. By the way, 108 people in here. Hit that like button. You really didn't get to see it as much last night, but Velus is going to be a problem in the gadget game. Like I said, those little screen passes, bubble screen, stuff like that, that's where he's going to make his money. That's where he's going to, that little screen or that little RPO pass out to Darnell Mooney, that's going to be Velus Jones more times than not. That's where you're going to see him make his money to me. RJ said, I think they should make Fields a game manager. Then as they become a tighter unit, get more explosive. I think that's what you'll see. I told Kid the other day, I think I said this on the live. I don't know if I did or not. But I see them using Justin Fields very much like how the Seahawks is tough, right? Because they went a long way, but kind of like how, well, more so how San Francisco used Jimmy G, right? Except I think that there's more talent with Fields. I think there's more ability with Fields. I think there's more ability to get the ball down the field. But kind of that, hey, listen, we're going to run the heck out of this thing. We don't care how many times it takes. We're going to keep moving the ball downfield. And we've also got this quarterback that's pretty good at getting the ball out of his hands and moving the ball down the field. Those are things you have to be excited about when you're talking about this Bears team. Like, it's not, it doesn't feel like your only option is the running game. It doesn't feel like your only option is to run the football. What it feels like is that you have the option to run the football, but if you need to make a pass, if you need Justin Fields to do something, if you need him to roll out in the pocket, he has that ability as well. And as Justin Fields' decision-making continues to improve, I think you'll see this Bears team continue to improve. I think you'll see this Bears game continue to improve. And that's what excites me coming into this season, honestly. Corey says the national media looks at wins and losses. That's why they're hard on the Bears. Also, it's a major market team. I agree with you. I understand why they're trying to go at the Bears. I understand why because they know we'll come back at them. They know that we'll try to hey, we're going to defend our team. We're going to defend our guys. You're not going to, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, all I ask you to do, if you have a platform that large, is to show a little bit of integrity. Show me a little journalistic integrity. Show me a little bit of, and I don't know if it's journalistic integrity. They're talking heads at that, but they do write articles. But show me a little bit of, hey, we understand we have this platform. At a minimum, we're going to do some research on who the Bears are playing, what the Bears are going up against. Because now, like last night, did you guys watch the broadcast last night? First off, they had no idea who was on the team on the starting unit. I get you if we get to the third and fourth string guys. I get you. But you didn't know who the starters were? You didn't know the guys on the starting offensive line, which tells me you're not doing your research. You see, for me, if I had to do a random preseason Bengals versus Jets game or something like that, at a minimum, I would know who's on the starting unit. You can feed me the information on, but we heard that Charles Leno was playing last night. If I'm not mistaken, Charles Leno hasn't been a part of this team for 2 years now. They got the third baseman from the White Sox playing quarterback for us in Josh Fields. Not Justin Fields, Josh Fields. He looked great. Nathan Peterman probably could pass on for Josh Fields. And then my favorite thing of the night is Dan Orlovsky criticizing Justin Fields on the rollout, hitting Cole Kmet. Maybe it was a little underthrown, but saying, "Oh man, you gotta really make a better pass there. That puts you in a bad situation." A 20+ yard gain puts him in a bad situation. And is that honestly our Monday night crew? Is that our Monday night football crew? Because that was god-awful. That was disrespectfully bad. That was up there with Buddy calling every black dude with dreads Cordero Patterson. Disrespectfully bad. And you could tell as the Bears were dominating the Seahawks, they were just trying to find a way to still say this Seahawks team has got it. They just need one piece. They just need to figure out that quarterback position. They were trying to find a way to hype up the Seahawks while not giving the Bears credit. They were at a loss for words when the Bears were literally moving the ball down the field with ease on all three strings. It's hilarious, bro. It was hilarious. And after a night where the Bears win, and all you have to do is look at the tape while Fields is in there. And I broke it down on my channel. All you have to do is look at the tape while Fields is in there and see that the Bears are doing screen passes and things like that, so there's going to be pressure in the backfield. To understand why there was pressure in the backfield and realize that the offensive line wasn't that bad and, in fact, graded out pretty well last night. I'm just saying. Pete says, y'all beat Seattle. Calm down, bruh. Here's the thing. I'm not hype about it at all. But I have an understanding that that's the kind of teams that we're playing this season. Those are the level of teams that we're playing this season. We're not going up against the best of the best of the best. I was watching Men in Black the other day. If y'all remember that was hilarious. I told y'all going into this schedule, I'm going to have to calm Bears fans down. Don Burr's going to be losing his mind. Because I think there's a stretch where we got Detroit, Miami, Atlanta, the Jets. Maybe not Detroit. Maybe it's somebody else in there. But I already know in the month of November, Bears fans at a minimum are going to be losing their minds. Barring injury, team's going to go 3-1 at a minimum. Barring injury, the team's going to go 3-1 at a minimum in the month of November. There's your 3 wins right there. Everybody that says the Bears are going to get 3 wins, there's your 3 wins right there. Hey, shout out to you guys for pulling up and showing love, man. Appreciate you guys who have tuned in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. We have gone live just about, I believe, every day this week. 122 people in here. We've got some Bears content on the channel from today, breaking down every Fields throw and breaking down how the offensive line looked in front of him. We've also got a couple of different things just talking about what to expect from this team moving forward, how we expected a couple of players to fare, people that we were watching closely in this game, stuff like that. So make sure you check out all that content on the channel as well. I appreciate all you guys who have hit that subscribe button. I appreciate all you guys who have hit that like button. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but I think we've had ourselves a pretty good stream. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. I just told y'all where to watch all the stuff, so I don't have to do that part of the outro. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Get yourselves a drink. Bear down. Before I get out of here, give me them Bear Dons in the chat. Everybody drop a Bear Don in the chat. Drop a Bear Don just to silence Don Burr. Drop enough Bear Dons that Don Burr can't get a comment in. Drop them Bear Dons in the chat. I'm going to leave the stream up for a minute. Let's see how many Bear Dons we get up in this mug real quick. Jesus, Calvin, relax there, brother. That's a tough comment right there. That's a tough comment right there, my boy. Corey in the chat, what's going on with you, man? This is my favorite part of the stream, just watching mugs go at it. Steve-O with the bird don. Tito with the bird don. Jerome with the bird don. Hey, Don Burr spamming that mug. Don Burr spamming that mug. Calvin with the bird Don. I love the Chicago beef. The Chicago versus Detroit beef will never die to me. The Chicago versus Detroit beef will never die. And I'm glad that Don Burr keeps it spicy. Torian dropping the hits is working. GC dropping the bird Don. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I leave him in here, because I need somebody to keep the Bears versus Detroit rivalry alive, and he's the only one that does it. Everybody else has banned him. I think he's banned on. Are you banned on CHGO? I think he's banned on CHGO. I think he's banned on Chicago. I know he's banned from the Chicago Bears. Corey Polk with the Bear Don. So I give him credit, man. He keeps that Detroit versus Chicago beef alive, and I'm here for the fire, man. Hey, man, as always, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. The tape never lies. Are you banned on the tape never lies, Don? Is Don banned on the tape never lies? Hey, man. He must be banning every page with him. Appreciate you guys for tuning in.